Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War.
James Daniel Aguilar, Robert David Alexander, John Atkins, Gerald Leon Ayler, William Clay Bear, Stanley Martin Baker, Gary Clifford Bannon, Thomas Frederick Barth, Daniel Simon Behar, Richard J. Bellicose, Leslie Allen Bell Richard, David Glenn Bendorf, Frank Henry Barron III, Martin George Blakely, Curtis Boardman, Jerry Allen Bachbrader, Anthony Bongo, Raymond John Borowski, Robert Thomas Boykin, Edward Allen Brooks, Dale Edward Brought, William Joseph Brown, Thomas Brown, Clinton Ray Brown, Robert Graham Bruce, Richard Charles Brule, Larry Kenneth Bryant, Lee Bjarne Buan, Robert Walter Buckley, James Michael Burrows, Frederick Andrew Buzza, Robert Emmett Kane, Joseph Arthur Cardenas, Roy Lynn Carter, Ernest L. Chambers, Jr., John Allen Cleggett, Hewitt Frank Evastus Coe, Wilford Paul Kohler, Joe Thomas Conkle, Ronald Marvin Cooley, Rudolph Ralph Corona III, Robert Crowder, David Lynn Crow, Joseph Richard Degnault, David Leon Daly, Mario Ontivero de Leon, Vernon Eugene Depew, James Thomas Dobish, Larry Floyd Dodds, Walter Earl Duncan, Jr., Gary Wayne Dunn, Salvador Gutierrez Duran, Donald Ray Ellis, Carl Frederick Erb, Joe Evans, David Lee Fennessy, Robert Sanchez Fernandez, Harold Everett Fettner, Reginald Flack, Richard T. Flattery, Jr., Donovan Russell Fluharty, Arthur Kirks Forbes, Jackie Lewis Ford, Robert Lee Fozzard,
Orville Bill Fritz, Jack Elroy Gardner, Claude Joseph Gaspard, Jr., Michael Owen Gatwood, Gary Wayne Gear, Rayford James Gerald, Jr., Michael Gillard, Lowell Thomas Glossop, Eduardo Jose Gonzalez, Kevin Terrence Gorman, Roy Wayne Graham, William Michael Grammer, John Allen Gravel, Kenneth Mervyn Gray, Newton Morgan Gray, Jr., Mac Edward Gregory, Gerald Charles Haig, Benjamin Wayne Hare, Samuel Christian Hall, Richard Allen Hardin, Ronald Edward Harrison, Richard Earl Harrison, Robert Joseph Hartley, David Earl Hartsoe, James Joseph Hazard, Norman Perry Howie Jr., Jeffrey Rex Hughes, Louis Joseph Inferrera, James Alex Jenkins, David Joseph Johnson, Roger Francis Jordan, Austin Raymond Joseph, Richard Henry Junk, Douglas O'Neill Keefe, Thomas Josh Kelso Jr., Gary Martin Killian, Daniel Canarin, Gregory Stanley Kowaleski, Jean Alfred LeBounty, Paul Bruce Lambertson, Mark Robert Lander, John Davis Larry Jr., Daniel H. Lawler, Joseph Ledesma Jr., Vernon Leroy Leno, Thomas Lynn Lester, Richard Leyva, Jonathan Fay Lohman, Bruce Irving Luttrell, Jean Milton Lutz, Notley Gwynn Maddox, Michael John Manier, Bruce Arthur Manton, Frederick Luther March, William Lincoln Marcy, Alan Richard May, Ivy M. McCarroll Jr., Willie James McLean Jr., Robert J. McDowell Jr., Wesley Raymond McKee, Thomas Edwin McKnight, Robert Warren Meese Jr., Larry Leon Mitchell, Frankie Zoli Molnar,
Guadalupe Esparza Montoya, Ronald James Moore, Gilliam Moore, Gary Kevy Morris, Donald J. Morris, Ronald Bruce Moss, Ralph Thomas Mueller, Douglas Wayne Murphy, Carl Delane Noggengast, Dennis Leroy Nelson, Scott Herbert Newport, Paul Angelo Paramato, Nicholas Allen Pavlakovich, Robert Elgin Payne, Peter James Panucci, Josh Peters, Clarence Wesley Pilkington, Robert Dean Plato, Eugene Frederick Poling, Thomas Wyatt Poore, Barry Carlton Price, Cornelius Pumphrey Jr., Arthur Gerald Qualls, John Michael Randall, Craig Rathbun, Carter Redmond, James Harrison Reese, Michael Davis Reeves, Gary Wayne Ritchie, Lawrence Stephen Robbins, John Hartley Robertson, Timothy Francis Robeson, Alan Tebbs Rogers Jr., Tommy Allen Rolfe, Roland Edward Rush, Alan Bartley Russell, Stanley Ancilio Sagan, Terrence Richard Shaney, Louis Ernesto Segarra Jr., Philip Joseph Cerna, Ronald Lee Sherrar, James Benjamin Shelby, Raymond Mack Schineldecker, Obie Clyde Simmons, Dale Jean Smith, Lonnie Leo Smith, Gregory Allen Smith, Johnny Jerome Smith, Homer Leroy Smith, Roy Smith, George Henry Stahl Jr., Ronald Dean Starr, Darrell Ladon Stith, Joseph Charles Stone, Terrence Colin Sullivan, John Ray Summers, Ronald Gale Swaim, Michael John Swiskowski, Eliseo Espinoza Tarrin, George Michael Taylor, John Stuart Taylor, Pasquale Torra, John Harold Turner, Randall Craig Van Hutsma,
Douglas Dean Vaughn, David Lorenzo Vigil, Kenneth Stephen Bohr, John Howard Wallen, Leon Arthur Wangren, Tony Robert Ward, Eugene Ambrose Ward, Galen Eugene Warren, Clarence Ray Warwick, Walter Jr. Washut, Richard Michael Weaver, Frederick William Widener, Richard Allen Western, James Christopher Wheeler, Richard Lynn Wildman, David Hunter Wilkerson, Larry Lee Williams, Joseph Michael Williams, William Frederick Winters, Donald Charles Wood, Melvin Wood, Warren Lynn Wozencraft, Tommy D. Wright, Sandy Zimmerman, Jr.,